What I'm about to tell you will completely change the way you think about attraction, because it's not what most men assume, and it's definitely not what most men practice. And the shocking part is this. The moment you understand it, you'll realize why the thumbnail you just saw saying, "the one place she secretly wants you to touch first," is not about one body part at all. It's about timing, presence, and emotional awareness. And in the next few minutes, you're going to learn exactly how women, especially women who've lived, loved, worked, and carried emotional weight for years, actually respond to touch in a way most men completely misunderstand. And I need you to stay with me because this isn't about techniques. This is about connection. And if you get this right, everything changes in how she responds to you. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing it right. And let's start with something most people never talk about. Attraction doesn't fade because love disappears. It fades because presence disappears, because touch becomes mechanical, because attention becomes divided, because a woman stops feeling emotionally met, even when she is physically close to someone. And when that happens, she doesn't always complain, she doesn't always argue, she simply starts to feel distant. And today, I want to show you how that distance is reversed through simple, intentional, respectful, physical connection that rebuilds emotional safety first. Because without safety, there is no real intimacy. And here's what most men miss completely. Touch is not a physical action for her. It's a language her nervous system understands instantly. It either says, "I'm safe with you," or it says nothing at all. And that difference is everything. And I want to walk you through a pattern I've seen again and again in real relationships where things felt cold, not because of lack of love, but because of lack of meaningful touch. Not sexual, not rushed, but grounded, calm, and present. And the first shift always begins with attention, not action. Because the moment you slow down and become fully present with her, her body responds before her mind even catches up. And that's where everything starts to open again. And one of the most powerful truths I've learned is this. Women don't respond to pressure. They respond to feeling seen. And when she feels seen, even the smallest touch becomes powerful. Not because of where it happens, but because of how it feels. And I've watched relationships transform when men stop trying to do something and start simply being there. And that's why the first type of connection that matters is calm, grounding touch. Something as simple as a gentle hand on her shoulder when she's overwhelmed, or a slow, reassuring touch on her upper back when she walks past you. Not to interrupt her, not to control her, but to silently communicate, "I'm here with you." And that single message can shift her entire brain, emotional state, more than long conversations sometimes can, because her body registers consistency long before words ever do. And this is where the thumbnail idea becomes real, because there isn't one secret place. There are moments where she secretly hopes you will slow down enough to actually notice her again. And that brings us to something deeper. The next level of connection is not about where you touch, it's about how intentional that touch is, because rushed touch feels invisible, but intentional touch feels like respect, and respect is one of the most powerful forms of attraction, especially over time. And when you place your hand gently on her upper back, or lightly hold her hand without distraction, without checking your phone, without thinking about what comes next, something subtle but powerful happens. Her nervous system starts to relax, not because you said anything, but because your presence feels stable. And stability is attractive in a way most people underestimate. And here's something important to understand. Women don't want intensity all the time. They want emotional safety that sometimes becomes intensity naturally. And that only happens when trust is built through small, consistent moments, not big, dramatic ones. And I've seen men completely change their relationships just by mastering this one idea. Slow presence creates deeper connection than fast intention. And when you apply that, Even something as simple as holding her hand becomes a form of communication that says, "I'm not rushing you, I'm here with you." And then there's another layer, emotional recognition through touch, meaning she doesn't just want to be touched, she wants to feel that the touch matches the moment. If she's tired, it's calming. If she's stressed, it's grounding. If she's distant, it's patient. And when your touch matches her emotional state instead of ignoring it, she starts to feel understood without needing words. And that's where attraction quietly rebuilds itself, not through force, but through alignment. And this is exactly why so many relationships feel disconnected, even when people are physically close. Because the touch exists, but the meaning is missing. And meaning is what she actually responds to. And now, let's address something directly that the thumbnail hints at, the idea of the first place she wants to be touched. And here's the truth most men never hear. It's not about discovering a secret spot. It's about becoming the kind of presence she wants to be close to in the first place. Because when emotional safety is there, even simple affection feels powerful. But when it's missing, nothing feels right no matter where you try. And this is where most men get it wrong. They focus on technique instead of connection. They focus on location instead of presence. And the result is distance instead of intimacy. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how small changes in how you show up physically can completely change how she feels emotionally, and more importantly, how she begins to respond to you again. Not because you learned a trick, but because you became more present, more aware, and more emotionally attuned. And as we move toward the final part, I want you to understand something very clearly. Attraction is not lost in big moments. It's lost in small, ignored ones, and it is rebuilt in the exact same way, through small, intentional actions that say, "I see you, I'm here, and you matter to me." And when that becomes your default way of being, everything else naturally follows. And what I'm going to share next will show you how these small moments, when done consistently, can completely shift the emotional temperature of a relationship that once felt distant back into something warm, connected, and alive again.